Hello and welcome to the Monocle Weekly. For today's show, I speak with Montpellier-born musician Kazy Lambist. His music is an elegant, bouncy mix of upbeat melodies and evocative lyrics. We discuss his latest album, Moda, and how Turkey influenced his latest release.
Turkey definitely inspired this album, and when I was living in Rome, I was also going to Turkey a lot because I kind of fell in love with Istanbul this past years. I don't know how it happened. I went to play once there, and I just connected with the crowd. I love this city. It was a country I didn't know much about, and because it's such a closed country, we don't have it's difficult for Turkish people to even travel to France, for example. So we don't have a lot of exchange, cultural exchange in general with Turkey, which is a shame because they actually have a bright, beautiful scene. And Moda is the name of an area in Istanbul that is an area for artists. I met musicians from there. You have a lot of music shops. It's very cute. So it's an area where you have a lot of music shops. It's very cute. You have beautiful view on the Bosphorus. So yeah, I fell in love with this neighborhood and made sense to call my album this way. Also because first I had featurings with Turkish singers on the album, and Moda was also it's also an Italian name. It's also an Italian word, and I was living in Italy for 2 years in Rome. So Moda was also it was obvious when I thought about this word.
Nothing's ever gonna happen till we get down, eat them all around, I'm starving.
Well, and it's a beautiful word as well, you know.
It's a beautiful word.
It's beauty, it's fashion, exactly. And by the way, a curiosity, I mean, the cover of the album is impressive. It's very elegant. Where was that, or how? Tell me a bit more about the album cover. It's really cool one, actually.
Thank you. The album cover is we made it in a studio. It's not an actual place. It's a fake window that we see. But we wanted to make something with photographer Antoine Hainaut. We wanted to make something that would refer to Italian painting, and especially it's really inspired by Di Chirico and Cara, who are painters for futurist, surrealistic, before beginning of surrealist movement in Italy. And Di Chirico was painting a lot Italy empty. It was a lot of paintings of Rome, for example, but without anyone, and just it was a very architecture centered on the architecture and on just the shapes of the city. And when I went to Rome, it was during lockdown, so there was no one, and I discovered Rome without any tourists. It was amazing. And that's when I really thought about those paintings of Di Chirico that were actually kind of coming to life during lockdown.
And some of the songs in your new album, the vibe is, and it's funny because I was even, reading in the press release of the film La Grande Bellezza. It could have been the soundtrack of it because it's very bouncy. I don't know. I love Moda Disco. The Moda Disco is such an excellent track. What can you tell us about this track? It is bouncy, in my opinion.
Cool. It's a nice. We just started to do some live and some concerts, and it's. I'm happy because it's a track that functions for the crowd is dancing to it a lot, so that's a good surprise. It's a song I co-composed with Glasses, and Glasses is a producer I worked a lot with. I also made another single from the previous album that was called Love Song with this guy. So we worked a lot on this album. I collaborated with him on several songs. And then I met this singer, Denze, in Istanbul, in Moda. She lives in Moda. And we recorded the song there. And it's a fun experience. It went very fast to record with her, and it was like kind of an obvious thing.
making dinner on time, taking you out in Paris. In the 10th, the night, he bought the dress. Clever, rich, and
You mentioned, Turkey a lot, Italy. When you go to those countries, do you also get music inspiration? Like, do you listen to the radio in those countries and perhaps like, oh, I didn't know such an amount of music? And Turkey, I have to agree with you. I didn't know much about Turkish music, but they have amazing pop music. Like, I've been looking at some of their artists from the 80s. It's incredible.
Yes, they have amazing artists from the 70s, the 80s. It depends where I travel. I usually always try to go to concerts, to go out to meet people from the place, and when I can, I stay a few more days after the show. But for example, in Italy, to be completely honest, I don't feel like I was inspired a lot by the music. I was more inspired. That's why I think I wanted to talk about my Italian experience through the cover and through, for example, I have an interlude on the album it's actually a poem of Pasolini read by an Italian actress called Fotini Peluso. And so in the end, the Italian influence in the album is more on poetry, on cinema, and on the visual in the end in painting than in music. But in Turkey, I really discovered a whole world with different instruments, and it's another way to make music. And yes, you're right. They have like a really good instinct for pop music.
Yeah, and there's always like a breezy, sensual element to your music, which is fantastic. Like that song, one of my favorites as well, "Somebody to Love." What an amazing track. Which one? What is this about? This song is it about longing?
I think this song is basically about looking for someone that doesn't exist and just having expectations for someone, yes, you will never find. And that's kind of this frustration of nowadays trying to find the perfect match. Like I don't know. That's something I had in mind about like somebody to love, like finding the perfect somebody to love that you will never find it.
No, that's a nice explanation, actually.
Yeah, I think that's how I saw this song.
And Kazy, tell us about your tour as well. I know you're coming to London as well, which is very exciting news. But what about your fan base? So tell us about the tour and your fan base outside France. Do you have fans in Turkey, a country that you've been talking a lot about it? And your song is very international. I mean, it's definitely not just French.
Yeah, I think my audience is kind of a bit in all the capitals. I found out with time. It's like when we played also in the spring in New York, in LA, there were like people that were really into it. In Germany, also in Berlin, in Hamburg, it's always nice to go there. And Turkey is very small in the end when you want to tour. So it's only 3 cities. It's Ankara, Izmir, and Istanbul. And Istanbul, I've already played so many times there. So I guess if they keep inviting me, I guess I have some people to enjoy it there. Yeah. Paris is still, of course, my main fan base, if you want to call it that way. Yeah.
And talking about inspiration, what inspires me musically is when I go to France. I think there's the music scene there is fantastic. How do you see the French music scene today? Do you see a lot of new artists? Perhaps are they on your playlist? Tell us a bit more, because I think France is amazing when it comes to music.
To be honest, like it's gonna be it's not gonna be an original opinion, but like the Olympics were not that bad at representing the French scene. I didn't think I was gonna say that, but in the end, like it was a huge mainstream stuff, but it was kind of good illustration of all the electronic French scene. It was very nice. So just looking at this lineup is already having a good like first taste of the French scene, I feel. And yes, there is also a lot of techno. I don't think it's the same. I think it's the same in a lot of places. I feel in Istanbul as well, and in Rome as well. But in Paris right now, there's a big comeback of the techno underground world. A lot of parties. A lot of people go to all types of techno right now. Actually, coming back. And for sure, Paris is a great place to go out and to see so many different because it's also an international place. So we have bands, a lot of bands from Africa, for example, that I feel like it's very multicultural and a lot of influences. You can, even in terms of jazz music in Paris is great. And I also collaborated with jazz players on this album. Collaborated with a French band called Émile Londonien that I recommend you to check, and Joey Omisil, who's a saxophonist player from Haiti and from Canada. Yeah, I mean, just coming back to Paris, for me, it's the best place if you want to see different. Like, I guess London is also. I hear that London is amazing. I don't know London enough, and I'm very happy to go back. By the way,
But I think the difference with Paris, I mean, correct me if I'm wrong, is you mentioned this connection you have, with some African countries as well. I'm Brazilian. There's lots of Brazilian music in
uh-huh.
Paris. There's
Yes,
an
agreed.
interest to the French in international music. It's really, really fascinating.
Yeah, I think there is, in general, in France, I would say the same about cinema. People watch a lot of foreign movies in France. That's the thing. I grew up like this. We would always see movies from everywhere. So I guess that's a specific thing for France. Yeah, and for music as well, we just listen to a lot of Brazilian music for sure. Yeah.
Which I'm glad. But can you give us a little taster of your upcoming tour? I know you're going to a few cities in Europe, including London. Will it be mainly kind of songs from Moda, I presume?
Not mainly actually, because what I find out is I don't want also like people don't know yet all the songs of my new album for sure. They've sometimes listened to one, two, three, and I don't want to have them waiting to hear the song they came to listen to for the whole show. So I'm for sure playing also. I mean, I'm here for the people, so I'm playing the songs they also came to hear. For sure.
Amazing. Well, may I put on a request for your version of Paris Tropical?
Oh wow, that would be a first. I've never played it, but
Amazing. Listen, Kazy, a pleasure talking to you. Love your music and hope to see you in London as well.
Sous le soleil de juin. Sous le soleil de juin. Paris brûle les Parisiens. Sous le soleil de juin. Sous le soleil de juin. Paris brûle les Parisiens. Sous le soleil de juin.
Thank you very much, Kazy Lambist there. His album Moda is out now. The show is edited by Flynn Simons and I am Fernando Augusto Pacheco.